everyone, and welcome back to the Real Positive Girl podcast. Happy Wednesday. Thank you so much for coming back and joining me for another episode. I hope that you guys are having the best day today. It's the middle of the week. It's hump day. So yay, we made it through halfway through the week, which is always a really great feeling. So this week we are talking about creating SMART goals, creating ART goals, which is a formula that, again, I did not create. If you want to know who created it, please check the description box. But I just think that it's so important in everyday life to, accompany, to, assist in our mental wellness every day, to have, SMART goals, to have goals that are, more thought out, more specific, that are more helpful and easier to attain because there's more organization to them, all those things. So that's why we're talking about that this week. You might feel like this doesn't really fit in. This doesn't fit in with everything else that we've been talking about, but I assure you, it really does. And don't forget, this isn't the first off category that I've talked about. I think I talked about your meaningful morning routine, which I feel like a lot of people really enjoyed. So I'm just trying to talk about things that are really helpful in general to mental wellness, not just specific behavioral health things, because it all runs together, it all meshes together, it all works together, and it's all really important. So again, happy Wednesday. I hope that your day is starting off really well. If it's just the beginning of your day, and if it's the middle of your day or towards the end, I hope that it was really great as well. And if it wasn't, please take the time for a 5-minute reset, reboot, where you have 5 minutes to yourself to just, have some peace, be able to reboot, come back to baseline, figure out what you need to do to finish off the rest of the day with a positive mindset, or at least feeling neutral about everything. And just remember to be grateful and humble for where you are and what you still have in your life, despite any problems that may come at you. So again, happy Wednesday. Today we're going to be talking about creating attainable goals. So let's go ahead and just jump right in. Attainable goals are ones that can actually happen, realistically. If your goal isn't something that can actually happen, it shouldn't be a goal. This is why you have to really evaluate your goals. I'm not saying you need to obsess over it or anything at all, but taking the time to really look into the future, evaluate your skills and resources to see if it's something that you can actually obtain. So I feel like this topic is a little tricky because, when you look up SMART goals, all it says is it has to be able to actually happen. And so there might be some goals in your life where you're like, yeah, I want to be a supermodel. And you might have to be if I were to say that for me personally, if I were to be yeah, I want to be a supermodel, it's not really realistic for me. And it's not because I'm not the skinniest or anything, but it's because I don't live in a region where that's a thing that's actually attainable. I'd actually have to move. I don't even understand what the industry is all about. I'm not super into fashion to even know anything about starting that. I don't have any experience creating a lookbook or I don't even know how to pose for pictures. If you've ever been to my Instagram, which check in the description box if you want to know where to find me on Instagram, I pose I don't know, it's average. So, but it's just if you have goals in your life that if you just search your heart of hearts and ask yourself, can I actually do this? And the answer is no, then it's just not attainable. You just need to actually ask yourself, is this really realistic? Can I actually go after this? But I do want to make sure you know that you shouldn't confuse fear with not believing your goal is unattainable. Those are two different things. If you have a hard time distinguishing, you might want to have someone you trust help you figure out which way you are leaning, and don't let fear get you caught up. So I just definitely wanted to make sure I said that from the beginning, because a lot of people might be okay, yeah, most of the goals that I want to do are just not attainable because I just can't do them and I'm afraid of what might happen. Now, that's totally different. So there are definitely a lot of goals in your life that could definitely be realistic for you and attainable, but fear might be getting in your way. And that happens to me all the time, all the time. Fear drives my life a lot, and I've honestly been trying to get over that. And I think one of the best ways for me to continue to work on getting over that is to talk about that one week, and I think we will. It's definitely on my list of topics, but I think I also have fear of talking about that. That's ironic, but anyway, but yeah, you don't want to let fear be the driving reason and mask that thing as, oh, it's unattainable, you can't do it, because you feel like you can't do it because you're afraid to try, you think that you might make mistakes, you don't know anything about it. So it's really important to take the time to figure out if it's fear or if it's just super unrealistic. Like, let's say that you wanted to, I don't know, and you'll notice that I'm like organically making this up on the spot because it's not even in my show notes, but let's say that you want to run a race. I don't know why I keep going back to that example, but I think it's just it's right there. Like, let's say you want to run a 5K and you want to be able to run it at like a 10-minute speed. But you're saying that it's not a realistic goal for you because you're honestly hiding behind fears of what will people think if you start to try running, and you think that people might make fun of you because you run really slow right now, or you might not be the most in shape person and you're afraid of what people will think when they see you running. You think that you have planned out enough time to train for the race, but you're afraid you might just give up because the training might become too hard, or your schedule might be interfered with other things, or you're fearful that you won't be able to make it to the finish line despite any training that you might do. Like, all of those are fears, because I personally believe that anyone that is able to walk, or if the race includes the capacity for like people in wheelchairs and things like that, that they are able to have running a race as a goal, because especially if you're able to do the run walk thing, because all that takes is like training and determination and actually like figuring out what race it is and what distance you're able to actually go. So just think about that. You really have to, if you're really just like writing every goal off that you've ever had come into your mind as saying that no, it's just not realistic. Is it realistic? Is it unrealistic? Or are you just afraid? So take the time to really compare those if you find yourself not creating any goals ever. But again, do not try to trick yourself or mislead yourself if you really don't think it could actually be done. I understand that certain goals take some time to complete and work towards, but if you know deep inside your heart that it just isn't realistic, consider something else. Like, just really think about it. Like, I feel like just the general whole topic for today, for Wednesday, about, realizing if it's actually attainable, is just really looking inside your heart and honestly, like, asking yourself, like, is this a real thing? Like, is this real? And I believe that about like at least 75% of the goals that you'll come up with are probably real, and there's going to be maybe even smaller than 25% of things that are just like not realistic. They're like really, really, really big dreams. They're maybe just like not goals for right now. Maybe they're goals for sometime in the future. Now, let's say that you do decide that your goal isn't attainable. This doesn't mean that you need to give up or move on from it. You can take the time to see what you need to make it attainable and decide if those things are something you can work up to or get help for. So, maybe running a race for you right now is just not realistic because, you broke your leg. Like, that's a real thing. So you're like, okay, well, I can't do it right now, but maybe in 6 months or a year, when I'm all healed up and you like, maybe you have to have surgery or whatever it is, all that other stuff that has to come before that. Maybe after that, you're like, okay, well, this could actually be a realistic goal, maybe 6 months to a year from now, and I will just, think about it later. So that's another category. It's like, is it realistic? Is fear driving you, or maybe it's just not realistic right now, but it's something that you can table for later. So let's say that you really want to open a pizza place in New York, but you live in Los Angeles. That doesn't seem like a really realistic goal right now, unless you are familiar and have done the research for like franchising or opening restaurants or whatever, and you're already in that business. But let's say that you don't find yourself thinking that's a real realistic goal right now, but you already have plans to move to New York in the future. So you will table that goal for right now and then, reconsider it later, because you know that there are things that will happen in between that will get you closer and make that goal more realistic, because you'll be in that city, and then you'll be able to learn more about, opening a restaurant when you live in the city and where the place is, and it'll be easier, it'll be more realistic because you're actually there, like I can't imagine how hard it would be to open a restaurant by living across the country if you haven't already done it. So just things like that. Like, I don't think that you have to give up. The main point of that is I don't think you have to give up every goal that you want to do just because you're not ready right now. But if you know that there are steps that you can take in the interim to work yourself up to that, to actually be ready to start working on that goal, then do that. Just table it for right now. There's nothing wrong with that. There's no shame in that. Because a lot of times we might think we might be ready for something and then realize that we're just not ready yet. Or maybe you'll try to tackle it and you realize there are all these things that you need to do first. And yeah, just table it for a while. Just take a break, work up to it, and then come back to it. It's actually better to do it that way than to work and try to accomplish that goal. But so many things get in the way, so many problems start to get created. I would definitely save your bride and just table it for now and then work on it later. I also think it's important to decide if the goal you are choosing isn't too easy for you, because if it is, then it's not a real challenge, nor a real goal if it's something that you can accomplish really quick. So true goals should be reserved for things that take time, dedication, learning experiences, and some work. So I don't want you out there to be like, okay, well, my goal is going to be to run a 5K in, at an 8-minute mile. Okay, well, that might, for me personally, that would be an actual really hard goal, and it's something I would actually have to work towards, and I would learn so much from it, and I'd actually take time, dedication to work towards that. But let's say that you're already an experienced marathon runner or half marathon runner, and currently your speed right now it's 9 miles per minute, and all you have to do is work up to cutting off a minute per mile, and that is work. But if you're already viewing it as, oh, this is going to be cake, super easy, I won't even have to worry about it, then that's not a true goal. It's just it's not a goal, because if you already view it as being super easy, not hard, you don't even really have to plan for it, then that's not really a goal. It's just taking an extra step in something that you're already super familiar with. I personally see goals as things that you have to actually work towards and make plans for. So I encourage you to actually take the time to create goals that actually mean something to you, not this something that you can check off and be like, I did this, and throw in people's faces. Because if you're doing it for vanity and just to get props from other people, because you're like, oh yeah, I made this goal to do this and this and this, and you did it so quickly, are you doing it just so that people will boost your ego and that you feel good about yourself and they're so impressed? Or and people might not be impressed, because they'll be like, well, yeah, but you've done all this stuff, so that's why it's probably came really easy to you. Don't do that. Do goals that actually teach you something, put you through something a little bit, push you, and you really come out the other side actually having a learning experience and feeling stronger in the end. You know what I mean? So I know that doesn't necessarily relate to making sure your goals are realistic and attainable. But I think it kind of does, I honestly think that choosing super easy goals, that's unrealistic as well, because those are not really goals. They're just these quick stepping stones up from where you already are. You know what I mean? So I think we're going to end it right there. This might actually be the shortest episode in the whole series this week. I said from the beginning on Monday that the episodes weren't going to be that long, and they've already been kind of long. So anyway, but my podcast isn't that long in comparison to other podcasts. So anyway, happy Wednesday. I hope that you really enjoyed this episode. If you did, I encourage you to share it with someone else that might really enjoy it as well. Please check the description box for any notes for the show that you might like. Literally, a lot of the notes for the show are basically the same things I talk about. So if you need a review or if you missed something, it's so easy to just like go through each point and be like, oh, okay, that's what she was talking about. And sometimes I laugh through what I'm talking about, like right now. Anyway, and also you can see where you can find me on Instagram, and you can see where you can send me an email for any questions, comments, concerns, or prayer requests, or anything you want to just let me know. So again, happy Wednesday. Thank you so much for joining me for the Real Positive Girl podcast. My name is Sabrina. I'm so happy that you came to listen. I hope that you come back for the rest of the podcast for this week. And I encourage you to go and look at previous weeks. Like last week, we talked about codependency. Loved it. Week before that, we talked about personal boundaries. Amazing. So I encourage you to check those out. But until next time, thank you so much for joining me. And I will see you next time. Bye.